why it's really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this Degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about a permanent loss.
But really, at the end of the day, it's just a matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, welcome to this here episode 65 of the Degen Roundtable's flagship Sunday show. My name is Will Stevenson. I will be co-hosting tonight's show with the fabulous Brendan, the anonymous bean over here. We're here to talk to you guys about Richard Hart being one of the most wanted men in the world. Just so you guys know, my understanding is the people who make the most wanted site are not governments. I think they're just some Brendan, we were talking about this in the green room. I think it's just some random assholes that make this wanted list thing. But yeah, we're here to talk to you guys about some awesome stuff going on with Richard Hart today. We'll touch on the FOMC. We'll do a little bit of talking about some fantastic stuff we're drinking. I'm personally having a gin with some soda water and a little bit of cranberry on the rocks tonight. Mr. Brendan, how are you doing, broski? What is new and exciting with you?
Hey, Will, I'm doing well, brother. It's been a good weekend, doing wedding planning literally all weekend. So I was literally on my computer yesterday when all of this news came out, and I just see the market out. Where does your hardcore coins? And so that was interesting. And, FUD everywhere. Was it FUD? Is it true? We're going to get into that a little bit tonight, but it was super interesting. And I'll tell you what, I was glad that I was on my computer at the time that I was. I'm glad that I had some random money sitting on PulseChain when I had, because I just bridged it over a few days ago, and everything worked out. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, as they say. But yeah, so it was kind of crazy to see. But obviously, I'm used to red candles. It didn't even hurt me. It didn't break my heart. It felt like a Christmas present because I had money in there that I could use to buy. I get if you're new to the market, if it's your first cycle, but if you've been through a bear market or two and you've seen the red candles over and over and over, if you've watched your portfolio when you were new go from an all-time high down to, a bear market, then, nothing new to you. And so if you can take emotion out of it, then it can be good for everybody. I'm doing good, man. Doing good.
I love it. I had no idea that there was any sort of FUD or any sort of craziness going on yesterday. I was hanging out with a friend of mine and had no idea what was going on in the markets. But I'm glad that you were able to buy the dip, and I'm glad that anyone who was sitting at home, sitting on some dry powder, was able to potentially buy the dip as well. That's freaking awesome sauce. So, hang on a second. I'm echoing here because I brought in myself as producer. I thought that Mrs. Producer would have to step out for a second. So anyways, it looks like she's back, so we're ready to rock and roll and do everything normally. Oh, never mind, she's in here. Oh man, this is so funny. We're having some fun problems with StreamYard today. It's always a new issue with StreamYard. It's super fun, super awesome. But yeah, like there was some crazy cool dip buying. We'll talk about like what brought it all on, and really I don't know a whole lot about everything, so I'm gonna default to you here for most of this information and stuff. But yeah, broski, it's like I'm super stoked to get into it. And before we do that, let's go ahead and run on over into chat shoutouts. Oh, and Mrs. Producer says we might be missing one chat shoutout for the chat shoutouts. That's okay, because I don't know where my freaking little paper thing is. Where the hell is my paper? What did you do with it? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for chat motherfucking shoutouts. One of these days, I'll find out where I put that thing. I just had it like a second ago.
I think the little gnomes.
The little gnomes might have very well taken it. That's so strange. I was like just playing with it like not but a little bit ago. Oh well, no sweat, no problems. we're just gonna hop right on into it. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for chat, motherfucking shoutouts, the very best part of the show where we talk to you guys who are talking to us. So, Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, go ahead and bring it up. The first comment of the night. We've got Moonpilled Rational Optics coming in 4 minutes before we went live, saying, "Merry Christmas, Degens. May your gains be many and high." Absolutely.
Merry X's, miss.
Merry X's, miss. Merry
X's to you too, and Merry Christmas to you as well.
Yes, exactly. Merry Christmas to everybody. We fucking like it. He also said like that's button on your way into the party. Next up after that in the chat shoutouts, we've got Mr. Marcus72 saying, "What is up all?" Oh, we have a chat coming in here. What is up all? What is up to you too, Mr. Marcus72? Welcome to the Degen Roundtable program. We're happy to have you tonight. After that, we've got the Bull coming in saying, yo, or just yo. So, we could hear your video there, Brendan. We love it. But we've got the Bull saying yo, and then after the Bull, we've got a good real life IRL friend of mine, Mr. Moonmut. What a weekend to buy the dip. Yes, it has been a fantastic weekend for those of you guys that were ready and watching the market. I am like hitting myself over the head for not being awake and also not having dry powder ready to rock and roll at the time. You were saying, Brendan, yesterday the bridge took like 6 fucking hours to get funds over.
Yeah, so I had made a play right before the dip. I've been holding ADA for a long time, and I was like thinking about shaving some of that position, and so I shaved it like 5 days ago, right before the big dip in the market, before the FOMC meeting and all that. And so I took some of those funds and I had bridged it over to PulseChain, just kind of had it sitting there. So when we had the dip, I was like, I'll throw it into wrapped ETH for now. Because I don't have anything particularly that I want to buy. And I thought that, because ETH dipped so much, I thought it was a pretty good place to put it. And then, so I had this money randomly sitting there that was in wrapped ETH. And so when the core coins dumped yesterday, I had dry powder literally sitting there. So I don't have any wrapped ETH anymore because it all went into PulseX. I caught almost the bottom of PulseX of the wick. I did not catch Hex under a cent, even though I was sitting there trying to get my transaction to go through. It didn't go through to like 113 or something like that, maybe 125. So just about 1.25 cents. And then Pulse, I got a decent price on, but not close to the bottom of the wick. It was crazy. And at one point, like I had actually, it was a $10 transaction fee. And I was like, wait, I'm going to wait on this. I'm not going to press the confirm button now. I'm going to wait like a few minutes for this to go down because, there goes some of my gains if I'm using, essentially spending millions of Pulse on a transaction, or close to $1 million Pulse on a transaction. So I was very happy with my PulseX purchase, pretty happy with the Hex purchase, pretty happy with the PulseChain purchase. And then I bridged in more funds yesterday as this was happening. And it took like 6 hours for those funds to be available. Which is much, much longer than what the bridge normally takes. Of course, there was a lot of congestion. And so I did get the funds last night. And I didn't exhaust all those funds that I sent in. But I did put some more money into some meme coins because I saw a bunch of memes that I think are pretty solid, that are going to do well. And they were hit pretty hard yesterday. So there are actually quite a few of them are still priced well. So if you like memes and you want to throw some money into some of your favorite memes, you might be able to do it at a pretty good price right now. Not financial advice, of course. Nothing we talk about is financial advice on this show, just financial entertainment. But yeah, honestly, I was excited. I was like, oh, this is fun. This is Christmas. And everyone else was like, no red candles. So, it's just perspective. And I knew that it was going to bounce back. I know it was some short FUD. I've seen all of this stuff prior to this. Now, look, could there be some new information out? Potentially. We're going to get into this a little bit more here in a bit. But yeah, so it was very interesting. Bridge was crazy times. And let's finish up chat shout out so we can talk more about it.
Yes, that's right. We had a thing going on with StreamYard, freaking StreamYard again, but it's fixed now. Next up, we've got Cotton Trust. I'm here for Uncle Bean Cabal secrets. You're absolutely right, sir. Me too. Uncle Bean has some dirty Cabal secrets that we're all going to learn about today. And like you were saying earlier, it's all campfire stories. It's all just like perspective in the way that you look at things. Some people see these like crazy drops in price, and they're like, oh, it's the end of the world. And other people see it and it's like, oh, this is my like last chance to buy something at a 30% discount. Like from what I'm looking at today,
You know what's
like,
interesting?
yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry.
I was just gonna list off some numbers. Like Hedron's up 26% on the 24-hour. EHEX is up 31%. ICOS is up 30%. Frickin' Inc is up 15%. You know, like the list goes on. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's just like
Anything
doing
you
so
caught the
much.
wish on.
Exactly, and it's just like, wow, what a present that we've all been given. But yeah,
And it
that's
was
all.
almost a double present, Will, right? Because first, and we'll get into this a little bit. First, we had the pullback, the overall market pullback from the FOMC. So we're already down, 10 to 20% on most coins, 20, 30% in some. And then we get the FUD. So the core coins and the rest of the ecosystem is going down even further. So I think a 7-day period, some of the coins as of yesterday were down 50%. So, you could get a serious discount on some of those wicks between the FOMC FUD and I should say news, shouldn't say FUD. And then the Richard Hart potential FUD, potential news. We'll find out. But yeah, so it was almost like a double. It was almost like a double dip of good prices.
Yep. So shout out to all of you guys that were paying attention. And speaking of shout outs to people paying attention, we've also got Mr. Moondog paying attention. Loving y'all, loving light, y'all. Oh man, I can never quite figure out. So I see a CL. Hang on. I bet that's I bet I only can't see it because I'm on StreamYard. Let me open up YouTube real quick. See what
Yeah.
okay, that's a Texas flag, the scale, and a pirate flag. What is up, Mr. Moondog? Good to see you. And excellent little chats there. Next up in the chat shoutouts, we've got Mr. Fox Mulder talking about the fake news. Yes, sir. We're going to get into that a little bit. All news is fake news, even the real stuff. And it's just that's a good, healthy perspective to approach life. And like the only thing that you can really trust is the stuff that's literally right there in front of your eyes that you're seeing yourself and not listening to someone else talk about. So like, don't trust us. Don't trust the news. Don't trust some random schmuck on the internet that's writing some campfire stories or anything. Literally trust only the stuff that's right in front of you. And yes, absolutely, Mr. Will Stevenson of the Degen Roundtable is absolutely right. None of this is all not financial advice. So keep that and put it to heart. I think that is all that we have for chat shoutouts and things. We've got some comments from the gentleman. Ooh, we've got Mr. Crypto Bones. What's the word, boys? I tell you what the word is, Mr. Crypto Bones, and it's the bird. The bird is the word. Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, this gin is fantastic. So right before the show went live, I was like, hey, Brendan, I'm going to have some gin. What's a good little drink to make? And Brendan taught me that you can combine gin and sparkling water and cranberry and just make like a fantastic, super simple little drink here. What is this just called, like gin and juice or gin and tonic or gin and deliciousness?
Yeah,
I freaking love it, man.
Yeah, and what's nice about it is like you can do gin and soda, right? That's pretty neutral. And then you can add as much of the juice as you want. So if you want it sweeter, more juicy, or less juicy, I tend to do a little less juicy. Sometimes I throw a lime in there. It's kind of like a vodka soda cranberry. Like that's very common, right? I just like gin. I personally like gin more.
Yeah. Ooh, this is interesting. We've got another chat shout out before we wrap this up. Crypto Grandma Talks. In Finland, if sacrifice is a gift and Richard Hart personally owns these gifts, then his tax in Finland for each gift greater or equal to €5,000 is 2% to 17%, depending on the amount gifted. I wonder if that's the tax thing for the most wanted stuff, because if that's the case and he airdropped the world's biggest airdrop or whatever the hell, then this would be one hell of a campfire story. That's fucking awesome.
You know what's interesting though? What's interesting before we even get into it, it's like, but all those funds are sitting on the blockchain, right? They weren't given. Where's the blockchain live?
Oh,
where's the blockchain live? This is the same question. This is the same question that we're having in the SEC case with Richard Hart. Where does the blockchain live? Does it live in Finland? Does it live in the United States? Or is it an entity out in the ether that isn't controlled by any one country? Right. And so it's a really interesting conversation. But look, we'll get into this more. It's a great conversation and it's really interesting. Really is.
I do like it. And also, before we drop off of this, shout out to Kasia over on Twitter. Kasia made a fantastic little YouTube short of when excuse me, myself, SJ, and Zenith read off the document from the transcript from the hearing itself, and that was the clip that he made. Was Judge Auntie Carroll asking, like, where does the blockchain live? Is it in America? Like, what the hell is going on? So shout out to him making those fantastic clips, and
That's
shout out
great.
to everyone.
That's
Yes,
perfect.
the blockchain is here in the room with us.
Is it-
So let's go ahead and hop into the first little thing of the day. Do we want to save the juicy Richard Hart stuff for after the FOMC stuff?
Yeah, let's save it for after, because I think that'll be the longer conversation, and I think it'll be a conversation that a lot of people are going to want to participate in. So
Okay.
we had some other big news this week, did we not, Will?
Yeah, so we've got Jerome Powell talking about the central bank to be cautious on the rate cuts. That's what it was. That's described as being hawkish, right? When they
Yes.
when they do that sort of stuff. So the FOMC meeting, it had the hawkish news, and then lots of people got scared and got cold feet and started dumping stuff, and we started seeing prices go down. A lot of stock market value lost a lot of there was a lot of liquidations and things, both in the cryptocurrency market and in the traditional finance market. But what is it that you want to focus on with this FOMC meeting, Mr. Brendan?
Yeah, so let's get into the overall basics of it. So the first thing is, we know that the Fed cut rates by another quarter point, so that reduced the federal funds rate from to 4.25 to 4.5%. And that's a pretty good rate. That's not as low as it's been for 10 years, but in the history of interest rates, it's fairly reasonable, right? It's not as low as maybe the market would like, but it's certainly not high. It's certainly not in the 8-10% range, or some of the highest that we've seen in the last few years. So not terrible there. But the really big note was, prior to this meeting, the Fed had earmarked 4 cuts for 2025. That was their estimate of how many cuts they'd have for 2025. Now, they change a lot, right? If you looked 6 months ago, they were saying we're going to have maybe 3 cuts this year. And then it went down to maybe we'll have 1 cut this year. Now, guess what? We've had 3 cuts this year in the last 3 meetings. So things change quickly. And as more information comes in, Jerome Powell and the Fed are going to change their tune. And look, they're always working on information that's a little bit delayed. They're also working with numbers that are a little bit cooked, right? So they're doing the best they can with the cooked numbers that they receive from the people that are cooking them. That's the bottom line, right? So they're doing the best that they can. However, so in September, it was, hey, we're going to potentially cut 4 times in 2025. And, we're going to continue to potentially cut this year. Come the meeting this week, they said, yes, we're going to cut, but we don't expect to cut as many times next year. So they cut in half how many times they expect to cut. So they went from 4 cuts next year down to an expectation of 2 cuts next year. And so the market said, oh no, should we be worried about inflation? Should we be worried about job markets? Are there some other things that are going on here? And so it spooked the markets a little bit. And we saw that the day of the FOMC meeting, when he got up there and when he talked, that hawkish tone, that reduction of cuts next year, definitely scared the markets. And we saw that in how everything came down. The S&P 500, crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything. It wasn't just alts that got crushed. I wouldn't say Bitcoin got crushed. I mean, look, a 20% pullback is very normal. In fact, it's a healthy pullback if we want to continue to consolidate at healthy numbers before we move up into the next leg of the market. So do I think that this is overall a bad pullback? No, I actually think it's overall a healthy pullback. Do I think that the bottom is in on the pullback? It could be. A bunch of people that are smart believe that we might see a little bit more of a pullback down to the mid 80s over the next couple of weeks. That's a possibility, but I actually think that we're probably pretty good on where we wick down on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, could we retest those areas? Certainly. But I don't really think we're going to go below that. And if we do, I don't think we're going to go far below that. That's just my personal thesis. I really do believe that January is still uber bullish. As Trump comes into office, as we start talking about Gary Gensler getting out of the SEC, as we start talking about positive changes for crypto, I do think that January and into February are going to be bullish months. So yeah, are we getting a pullback here rather than just to continue up into the right? Yes. Is that a bad thing? No, not necessarily. Pullbacks are healthy, and we haven't really seen a lot of pullbacks this market. And so having a pullback of 20 to 30%, as long as the overall thesis, as long as the overall market still looks strong, which I think it does look, I think the overall thesis is still very strong. ETF inflow is strong. Michael Saylor is strong. Donald Trump getting into office and appointing pro-crypto people strong. China going to start, buying more Bitcoin strong. Are we going to start seeing more world powers create strategic Bitcoin reserves? I would say yes. If the United States does, other people have to fall in line, right? Especially potentially our enemies like China and Russia. So El Salvador, they said not only are we going to continue to buy 1 Bitcoin a day, but we might actually start increasing how many Bitcoin we buy each day. So the big players aren't slowing down. They want to buy your bags. They want to fudge you out of your bags so that they can buy them. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. But back to the SEC. So overall, here I can pull up.
I do. Yeah, I have the article. You could pull it up as well as you go through it. Either way works. If
you want to go through it, my friend, we can go through it. If you want me to pull it up, I will.
Okie doke. Here it is. I don't know who's. Am I steering, Mrs. I'm gonna presume that I'm steering here. All right. Yep, I am steering. Okay, sweet. So we've got the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates by a quarter point on Wednesday from 4.25 to 4.5. Or bringing the range from there. So
let's go down a little bit further. So one of the things that he talked about was, look, inflation really isn't that bad, right? We're at 3%, give or take. So he's like, you're not feeling inflation. What you're feeling is inflation that was at 10% for multiple years. Those prices have already increased so much that you're feeling that in your wallet. You're not feeling the small inflation, although that's what mentally it feels like. What you're feeling is the high prices from inflation that's already happened. And the only way that you can help that is by increasing the wage gap, right? Reducing inflation while increasing wages at a faster rate. That's the only way that's going to make your pockets feel better. And that's one of the things that he was talking about there. And he's not wrong, right? Inflation isn't where necessarily we want it to be, but it was so high for so long that it really negatively impacted our overall spending power. And that's what matters, right? And that's why we're in crypto, because our dollars aren't worth shit when inflation happens for multiple years at a time. And we have absolutely no control over it. So if we want self-sovereignty, if we want control, then we need to be the ones to take advantage of that. That's why we're in crypto, right? That's why we're here. That's why you're listening to us knuckleheads talk.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. Oh, he also talked about Bitcoin. Do we want to cover this at all?
Yeah, we can cover it quick. Did you listen to him by chance?
I didn't listen to it, but I saw this corroborated.
Just read that little paragraph there.
Yeah. All right. So he said we're not allowed to own Bitcoin. The Federal Reserve Act says that we can own, or says what we can own, and we're not looking for a law change. That's the kind of thing for Congress to consider. But we are not looking for a law change at the Fed. So
right. So what is he saying?
He's happy to not buy Bitcoin, which is perfectly good with me.
He's saying, look, I don't make the laws. All I do is abide by them. I'm the Fed. I have no control over the law. I have no control over what happens. So essentially, if Congress wants to change the law, then he can abide by that law. But he's not looking to change laws because that's not in his best interest. His best interest is to focus on what he can control. If he focuses on what other people can control, then he's going to get out of what his whole process for his job is, which is control what I can control, which is the Fed. If he starts worrying about what Congress's job is, then he's already lost, right? Yep. And so I agree with him. His best response is I can only use the tools that I'm allowed to currently. If that changes in the future, sure. Then he'll change his tune and he'll consider that, right? But currently, he has no choice but to either raise lower rates, buy T-bills, sell T-bills, like he doesn't have a lot of options. And so I don't think this is essentially him being negative Bitcoin. I just think he's saying it's not worth my time to worry about because I can't change the law. So all I can do is worry about what affects me, which really is how he should think.
That is, yeah, he's staying inside of his lane, his little area that's his background thing. And like honestly, I don't really want to hear the Federal Reserve talk about Bitcoin and stuff. Like the reason that we're buying Bitcoin, that we're buying cryptocurrency, that we're doing all of this stuff is to avoid the fallout of all the decisions of our governmental agents and the people up at the Federal Reserve printing money into oblivion. So if they start dipping, you know, their grubby little fingers and toes into our realm, then that's when I start being concerned. And you know, it's maybe time to find the cool new thing. So I'm pretty glad that he's not talking about it. He also mentioned labor markets and then progress in inflation before further cuts. And
Yeah.
some other things. Is any of this worth going over?
Yeah, I mean, look, the labor market is important, right? Generally speaking, as labor markets cool, inflation comes down. So he's saying we're still seeing cooling inflation, cooling job market, maybe not as much as fast as he had originally hoped, but he's still seeing continued cooling labor market. Unemployment is still at a reasonable rate, and so he's not worried about unemployment going too high. But it is good news that employment rate is essentially unemployment rate is slowly ticking up. And that's important, right? The cooler the labor market, again, generally speaking, lower inflation. Because if it's a very competitive labor market, what happens? Companies are fighting for your business. They're paying you more money. If you pay you more money's in the market, more money's in the market, people are spending, inflation goes up. So as people are tighter with their money, it puts less stress on inflation. Now, if the government continues to print money out of nowhere, then it's really hard to keep inflation down. And the Fed has talked about that as well. But yeah, that's the general gist of the market there. But I'd say the other thing about the FOMC that was interesting was over 12-month period, inflation's essentially been sideways. So they haven't really been able to get it down more than they did a year ago. And so that is where, hey, there's a little bit of worry here that we're getting some sticky inflation. And so if there's sticky inflation, then they might be worried about lowering interest rates too quickly. And so sticky inflation is likely one of the reasons why they're saying, hey, we might only have 2 cuts next year instead of 4, because we are slightly worried about inflation. And these are the 2 things, again, that worried the market a little bit. Potentially sticky inflation and less interest rates cut. So anytime that they deviate from the status quo of what they have been saying for multiple meetings previously, it's going to scare the market. Status quo, no news is good news, market's happy. Any change in that, especially sentiment change, especially language change, so from dovish, which he's been the last multiple meetings, to now being a bit hawkish, a little bit worrisome about sticky inflation, a little bit worrisome about where we're going to be next year, then yeah, hey, we're going to maybe only have 2 cuts, because there is a little bit worry seeping into the markets. And that worry is what you saw when those markets started to dip. What was that? Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that, Thursday?
I think so, yeah.
My mind.
I want to say it was sometime around there, but yeah.
It was the 17th, 18th, I think. Well, I don't remember what day that was, but yeah, we're in those areas. So we saw that. Not bad. Pullback. Again, a 20-30% pullback for Bitcoin for the crypto market is nothing. That happens very common in a bull market. It is normal. And then we start to go sideways a little bit more, build more support, and then we start to slowly tick back up. So again, we could go down a little bit more. We could go back down and retest those 80s of Bitcoin. We could test the mid 80s, or maybe I would say personally that the very lowest of my thesis would be low 80s, 82K. But again, personally, I think the bottom is in. We may still chop in this low 90s to mid 90s, high 90s, somewhere in there. But I don't think this is a cause for concern. In fact, again, I think this is a pullback's healthy. Now, this pullback coupled with what happened yesterday in the Richard Hart ecosystem had some people literally like jumping off bridges, because I know a lot of our listeners, I know you and I, Will, are very heavily invested in the Richard Hart ecosystem. So if you had already a 20% pullback, and by the way, Richard Hart core coins, I'm going to time out here. Thank you.
I think we're
here.
Oh, hell yeah. Thank you, Brenda. Excellent.
Thank you.
That's so cool. Good stuff. I'll drink to that.
Right.
Crack open
Warm
a
up
beer
here.
as well.
I usually turn it on the AC before I start streaming, but I did not do that. So a cold beer will do the trick. Cheers, everyone. And for those of you who don't know, I do have celiac disease, so I'm drinking a gluten-free beer. It's called Red Bridge. It's quite delicious, just refreshing, light beer. But we'll do the trick.
So we had started talking about Richard Hart. Am I good to go ahead and pull this down?
Yeah,
pull that down. You covered everything? Okay, sweet. So I'm going to go ahead.
Unless you have any questions about the FOMC or anything that I talked about, or any comments on there?
It was all pretty clear. The only thing that my little I don't understand a lot of the why, like the stories that you tell me as far as like the function of everything. That all makes sense. I don't really get the why as far as like how the unemployment numbers affect. Like I can see the gears spinning, and I don't understand each and every tiny little part and piece that's all over the machine. But like big picture, I get it. It all makes sense. So I think that that was a pretty good job for the folks at home. If you guys have any questions, make sure you throw them in the chats, and we'll be sure to get to those later. I think we'll go through another round of chat shoutouts or question answering here soon before we delve into the Richard Hart ecosystem stuff, because I know there's been some latecomers as well as some questions and things going on in here. But yeah, dude, you did a pretty damn good job explaining everything with the FOMC and what to expect. It's interesting that they've shifted from potentially 4 all the way down to 2 movements in the next year. So I'm curious to see what kind of difference that will have on both like people listening to the campfire story and then taking action from it, and then as well as like the actual like what's going to happen when it actually comes to fruition. I am curious to see like what happens when inflation gets out of control and they can't stop it. They were talking about like the inflation is like sticky or something like that. What do you think is like the worst case scenario if they're not able to rein it in by doing this, like, what is it called? The soft landing is what
stagflation.
Stagflation. Okay.
Stagflation. You can read up on it, but it happened in the 70s, and it was really bad for the markets, and it was really bad to get out of.
Was it good for people with assets?
I mean, it was kind of bad for everybody because, well, look, back then, if you have assets that are appreciating faster than inflation, then yes, right? Then you're going to outpace that inflation. But stagflation essentially is like higher inflation than you want for far longer than you want, and that creates a really weird market in a really weird economic situation. In fact, Chocolate Taints is a pretty big expert on stagflation in the 70s. So when he's back on here in January, maybe we'll get a little bit more information on there. I don't want to talk about that tonight, but but it looks like we have some money.
We have some. Oh shit! Look at that. We've got a fucking super chat just rolled in. Yo, this is a good time as any for us to do some chat shout outs, starting with our very own good friend of the channel, Mr. Crypto Boogie.
Cheers,
saying,
brother.
"What's poppin', monkeys?" Cheers to you.
Thank you,
Crypto Boogie. Thank you, sir. What's poppin', monkeys? Dude, there's a lot of things popping today. We got some great prices. We've had some excellent buying opportunities. We got some wonderful campfire stories coming from our good friend Jerome Powell up there at the Federal Reserve, and also some great stories about the Richard Hart ecosystem, which we'll get into very shortly. But Mrs. Producer, let's go ahead and continue on with the other chat shoutouts and shout out the people that have hopped on in. We've got Funk Master Hex, the Trailer Park Boys Julian of the cryptocurrency and PulseChain station or PulseChain ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen, good evening. Good evening to you too, sir. It is good to see you, Mr. Funk Master Hex.
Hey, Will.
Yes.
I noticed you're drinking a Labatt Blue there.
Yes, I am. One of the old Canadian Pilsners.
For a light beer, that's actually, I can't drink them anymore, but that was one of my favorite beers in Canada. My family's from Canada, grandparents from Canada. Labatt Blue is great. It's great for the price. But what's interesting is outside of Canada and like the northern parts of the United States, people don't even know it exists. So it's for those who don't know of it or never heard of it, not a bad beer.
Labatt Blue, Canadian Pilsner from Toronto since I want to say like the 1800s or something like that. They're a super old beer. But yeah, shout out to Labatt Blue and shout out to all the folks out there that make great and excellent beer. And speaking of shout outs, we got some more shout outs to rock and roll with. We've got Mr. Large. Let's fucking go. Absolutely large. Welcome to the channel. It's good to have you back with us, broski, with your stormtrooper helmet with the blood smear on it. I can't remember what movie that was from, but that's from one of the new Star Wars movies. Shout out to you, sir. Good to see you. Also in the chat, shout outs. It looks like next up we've got Kenturian54X coming in late. Love that you all have a Merry Christmas, Degens. Yes, sir. Have a Merry Christmas to you too, Mr. Kenturian54X. Glad that we could have you with us today. Always good to see you, amigo. And then it looks like we've got a question from Mr. Moondog. Curious question. What would be the difference between selling your crypto for stables versus trading for like or kind investment, i.e. the deferred capital gains that you get if you're due a 1031 might be one answer. So for the folks that don't know, one of the things that real estate agents do is you can defer your capital gains by basically selling a house for another house. And whatever the capital gains that you get from that transaction, when you switch from one similar investment to another similar investment, you can defer that tax off basically indefinitely if you just keep basically buying a bigger house, getting more debt, yada yada yada. I don't know exactly all the stuff for it. Mr. Moondog is probably a much better question answer for that stuff there. And also, I imagine Corey Geary and the folks on the Corey and Dane, they would probably be good people to ask for that as well. But I know for a fact that Moondog has a huge and extensive history in the real estate business. So shout out to you, Moondog, and that's a good little observation. What you got, Brendan?
I'll say that the tax laws surrounding crypto are pretty much non-existent. So it's a lot of gray area. And so is crypto like the real estate market? Hard to say if the government's going to think that. You might think that, but it doesn't matter what we think or what we feel. It matters what the government wants from your wallet. Yes. And that's the bottom line. So personally, I don't think it matters so much if you change from a coin to a stable or a coin to another coin. I don't know if that allows you to defer capital gains tax or not. I'm not a tax expert, but I know that I harvested a lot in the bear market. And so that will help me a lot in my capital gains next year. But based on what I expect our gains to be, make sure you put some money aside to pay those taxes.
Yep. You always got to pay the guy that stands over you with the wrench and threatens you with jail time if you don't. So be careful about all that, everyone.
Taxes are a serious thing. And we're going to talk about Richard Hart here in a minute. And so that has to do with taxes too, but we have a few more chat shoutouts.
Yes, we do. We do have a few more chat shoutouts. Next up, it looks like we've got Chad Donnerschwanz. Hello, fellow based crypto bros. Hello to you too, sir. It is good to see you, Mr. Chad Donnerschwanz. Welcome to the stream. Good to have you with us. And then after that, we've got Mr. Kirby Lucario. It's not just FUD. Roger Ver is currently serving 100 years in prison for tax evasion. That is sad to see. Roger Ver, I believe, is Bitcoin Jesus. I don't know. Is he actually in prison by now? I can't remember if he's man. I'm going to defer to your judgment, Mr. Kirby Lucario. If Roger Ver is in prison, that sucks.
Yeah.
Basically, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that they essentially released what happened earlier this year to him.
Yeah.
I think they were saying he evaded like $50 million in taxes back in, I don't know, early Bitcoin days. I don't know the details about it. I don't know. I take his word that it's 100 years in prison. I don't know, but yeah, tax evasion is a serious crime.
I've got an article here. Early Bitcoin investor known as Bitcoin Jesus indicted for allegedly committing tax fraud and causing $48 million loss to the IRS. In Los Angeles, a federal grand jury has indicted early Bitcoin investor and promoter who claimed the moniker
maximum
Bitcoin
30
Jesus.
years.
Yep. I'm like scrolling down. Man, this is a lot of letters and numbers. The bottom line is, okay, so if convicted of all charges, he would face a maximum sentence of 20 years in federal prison for each mail fraud count, up to 5 years in prison for each tax evasion count, and up to 3 years in prison for each count of subscribing to a false tax return.
So maximum sentence of 30 years. That's what they're saying. but is very, I mean, almost nobody gets the maximum time and those types of things, especially if it's a white collar crime and you pay the money back. If you could pay the money back, like your taxes, then you're very, very unlikely to get even close to the maximum. So we'll see. I don't know that much about the details here or if he's actually been sentenced or not, but just going through the few details here, that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Yep, and it's not a terribly interesting article. We don't want to get too caught up in it. And we do actually have another chat shout out to do. Mr. New to God Plankton with the $10 super chat. Shout out to you, amigo. Thank you so much for that. That's awesome. All I know is that I've been waiting for sudden wealth syndrome for 3 years now. I know it's coming. But be good. Merry Christmas, you guys. Love you all, and good night. I'm out. It is good to see you,
Thank you,
Mr.
brother.
New to God Plankton. Good to have you here with us tonight. Welcome to the Degen Roundtable. Stream broski. Thank you so much for that super chat. That's fucking awesome. Oh, and we've also got Mr. Frank White, Bang Bang Labatt Gang. Yes, absolutely, Frank White. Bang Bang to those filthy Canadian Pilsner drinkers such as myself and my good friend Brendan here. These are some fantastic beers, I must say. This is my my last of 3. Or, well, I've got 3 of them left, I should say, and then I got to go back to the store. But fortunately, I'm right next to the Canadian border, so getting a hold of Labatt's is pretty damn simple for me. So nice and easy, does it every time. And I believe that takes care of the chat shoutouts. There's some clarifications going on in the chats regarding sentencings and things. I have no idea, but you're absolutely right, Kirby, that like Homeboy's going to prison for a long fucking time. We might not know the exact number of years, but the point is, like, if you try and fuck with Uncle Sam's tax stuff, then even if you renounce your citizenship, they might come after you 10 fucking years later. So who knows? He moved out of the States in 2005. He renounced his citizenship in 2014. So it's just like can you ever fucking escape the clutches of the U.S. government? I would like to think so. But you know, like, realistically, we're all just a bunch of ants living in an anthill, and there's people with big boots clomping around all over us, and we're just trying to play the game as best we can to avoid getting stomped on until one day we can buy our own big set of boots ourselves. So that's my little analogy on that. Let's go ahead and launch into talking about Richard Hart and what's going on there. So the bottom line up front, for those of you guys who don't know, is basically Richard Hart is one of the most wanted people ever, which is fucking awesome because that means that people are saying his name, they're finding out about what he's doing, and they're going to mosey their way on over to PulseChain, eventually learn about Hex, learn about delayed gratification, learn about doing these Cuatro Cinco Hex stakes, and then they'll buy our bags, and everyone will live happily ever after. And in the meantime, there's going to be a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt that's going to cause prices to go down, and folks like Mr. Brendan, who's paying attention, and me, if I was paying attention, and the rest of you guys that were paying attention, the opportunity to buy some shit at a great fucking temporary discount. So shout out to all you guys that did that.
Well, the first thing I want to say is there's been a lot of information on Hex. Some people saying, oh, he's not really on the Interpol red list. He's not really. That's fun. Like, is it? Guys, all you have to do is a Google search. Like, go to the Interpol website. Literally, you can search any name, and you can find out if he's on there. In fact, pull up my screen.
Hey, look at that.
Let's see if this is so cool or not. So literally, you can go to Interpol. You can literally type in a name. I literally just typed in Richard, and there's 3 Richards on the Interpol list. You click on Richard James Schuler. Might start calling him Jimmy.
That's so fun.
And there he is. You know, he's on it. Aggravated tax assault. Now, look, this is just because you're on here doesn't mean you're guilty of a damn thing. It just means that they want to arrest you to find out if you were guilty of these things, right? And so just because you're on here doesn't mean that you are definitely guilty, but it means that you are wanted in Finland.
Interpol.int. This is cool. I'm going to type in my own name and see if I'm in here.
So first of all, I mean, it's not necessarily FUD. He's on here. But what is FUD, right? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Yep.
I guess the question is, for me, if I were to call it FUD, it would be, is this new news? Well, that's the next question you have to ask yourself. I've known that Richard Hart has been wanted for tax evasion and assault for like a year now. Okay? This isn't new news. This is just like recycled news that somebody posted. Maybe I think he got put on another website, which was a non-government entity website. And then that blew up like it was a new thing. And this happens a lot, right? It happens a lot that like people forget that something happened, or there's so many new people in the Richard Hart ecosystem, or so many new people that know about Richard Hart since the SEC case, that maybe they didn't know that this was already out there. And they're like, oh my gosh, he's a wanted man. He's a criminal, scam artist. It's all true, right? It doesn't mean a damn thing. It doesn't mean any of it's true. In fact, I could pretty much tell you the SEC is full of shit. And most of the people, most of the EU, most of the countries, including Interpol, are on that same level as the SEC. They are so corrupt that they don't care who they are tearing down as long as it is in their best interests or the best interests of the people paying their bills, right? And so it's no different than like Gary Gensler getting his marching orders from somebody up higher than him, right? Interpol is literally just an agency that gets their orders from people behind the scenes, paying their bills. And I'm going to pull up a very interesting X article here a little bit later, because Sami has been diving deep into this. And I'm going to stop sharing this right now for now. We're going to get into sharing a few more things here in a bit. But look, so first of all, I did my own research, right? Holy moly, Google Interpol Red List. You can stop sharing that now.
I got a second. I got you.
And so, yes, he's wanted by Interpol. Does that mean anything? No. Is it new news? No. It's been out for over a year. We've known this for a long time. Okay. Maybe I
got you, dog. Oh, no. Am I coming in audio twice?
No, you're good. You're
my
good.
producer self.
No, I don't hear. I only hear you once. But the other interesting thing is with Richard Hart. Look, man is smart. I know a lot of people like to say he is brilliant. He is so far ahead of the game most of the time that it's insane. But I'll tell you what, PulseChain and Hex, they run either way. You can't shut those down, and they have 100% uptime. So our community has only grown since Richard Hart has been sued by the SEC. Our community has only grown since Interpol has put out an aggravated tax evasion and assault charge to Richard Hart. By the way, what is this assault charge? Like, there's no real information about it. It smells really fishy to me. Really fishy. They're like, there's a person that he pulled into an alleyway and he punched in the face. Like, I'm sorry. Everybody has a camera all the time. If he's in a public place and pulls somebody to the side and punches them, like, first of all, how do they know it was Richard Hart? Second of all, why isn't there a camera or a film or a picture of this happening anywhere? The EU is literally the camera country of the world. Like, it is a police state. Every corner has a camera outside of just the people carrying cameras and wanting to videotape everything that they have, right?
I think, and here's the other thing is, like, anyone can write words on the internet. Anyone can file any sort of charge or any sort of complaint at any point in time. And like, the problem is a lot of these charges and a lot of these complaints and a lot of these like allegations, they run, and like when a news outlet picks it up, they're going to run with it as like, ooh, what's the spiciest way that we can make money by reporting on these things? It's like, we're not going to say that it's true, but we're like, I know for a fact that if I've got a campfire story to cover, I'm going to spin it for a fact in the way that I think is the coolest thing to me. And so whenever anyone, whether it's like Cointelegraph or whether it's the New York Times or whether it's the Degen Roundtable podcast, whenever we find some sort of snippet of news, we're going to put our own little spin on it that makes the news come out in such a way that we like. And it just so happens that a lot of the world hates Richard Hart and hates everything that he does. So they're going to present the information in such a way that it tells the story that they want to tell. And I'm not here to say it's true. I'm not here to say it's false. I'm just saying that any asshole can type words on the internet. Any asshole can go down to a police station and file like a complaint or file a what is it called? Put in like file charges on people or do things of that nature, right? And this is just like we were saying earlier. This is just the site that's like, hey, we want to, hey, we want to bring you in for questioning. Hey, we want to talk to you. It's not the like anything is proven. It's not there's no sort of guilt or lack of guilt being assigned by like existing on this website and stuff. So just something to keep in mind. The best thing that's happening as a result of all this, it's now there's more people saying his name, and eventually the truth will win out, hopefully. And, you know, if not, like we're gonna have a whole lot of people looking up who is Richard Hart, what's going on with this. All news is good news. Like think about what happened with OJ, man. Like OJ lived the best fucking life, you know. Everybody fucking loved OJ, and he literally like chopped up a bitch or like stabbed her to death and went on the run. And like that did nothing but help his image in the public eye. There's all sorts of people that do all sorts of terrible things. Like no news means that like nobody's paying attention to you. Bad news and good news, they're both saying your name. They're both breathing more life into your existence. They're both like basically doing free advertising for you and letting the world know that you exist. And then eventually the truth comes out, whether it's like, oh, something good happened or something bad happened. More people will tell a campfire story on one particular side of the coin, or more people will tell a campfire story on the other side. Actually, truth be damned, the more people that are telling whatever campfire story becomes the thing that wins out in the end. You know, like there's a whole bunch of instances where people say that like, you know, some crazy things happened and yada, yada, yada. And I don't want to jump down like the conspiracy rabbit holes, but like, the more large media sites that repeat the same story, the more likely that the general average person is going to say like, oh, wow, this thing is happening. And the more people that say the wrong story, the more people will repeat and think the wrong story is the thing that happened. So it's just basically a power of like, who can yell the loudest, who can reach the most people, who has the best and stickiest message in marketing and salesmanship and all that crap. So like, don't worry about it, guys. Your coins aren't going anywhere. They don't even need Richard Hart anyways. Like he's very helpful and he's awesome for the community. But Hex is already running. PulseChain's already running. PulseX is already running. We still got the guy tweeting about how awesome all this stuff is. Is this a good time for us to hop into that, Brandon? Do you have something you wanted to cover before we
I got some juicy tweets to cover. I sure do.
Oh, okay. I'm fucking ready for it, bro.
All right. I'm gonna share. I'm gonna present. I'm gonna just share my screen and then hop through tweets because I have a bunch here. I'm gonna share my entire screen, so just FYI.
Okie.
Actually, I might just I'll share my entire screen.
Make sure you close your Excel spreadsheet of passwords and stuff, or you don't do what that one gamer streamer did where he accidentally showed his seed phrase. You remember that?
Yeah.
He fucking got he lost like hundreds of thousands of dollars or some shit.
All right, let's pull these up.
All right. Freaking Gains by Casey hopped through those tweets. All right, what do we got?
Can you see it?
I can see that just fine, yes.
Okay, so this is my favorite tweet from yesterday. So as all of this stuff happening, I'm going to start calling it FUD. And the reason I'm going to start calling it FUD is because it's not new news. Okay, if anything here was new news, then I would say, okay, hey, this is something we need to consider. I've known about this again for a year. Now, I don't know how long he's been on the Interpol red list, but I know that these charges from Finland have been out there for a long time. And so if it was new, then I would say, yeah, this is something that's new and need to be reconsider what my position is. No, this is not new information. So I'm gonna start calling it FUD. Again, not because tax evasion is wrong, is good. It's wrong if it's true. Unfortunately, a lot of the EU, you are guilty until proven innocent. It's not like the United States where we actually have a somewhat just court system. And I say somewhat because depending on what state you're in, depending on what judge you have, there are a lot of loopholes in how just our court system is. And so I'm not going to say we're the shining badge of truth and justice in the world. We have our issues as well. But I will tell you that at least you have a path to freedom here, right? You at least have an opportunity to have a real, most of the time, have a real chance to fight for your, truth or whatever. Now it might take 1 or 2 appeals. It might have to go all the way up to the Supreme Court, but you have recourse here, right? In some of these other EU countries, and I don't know Finland well, to be honest with you. I don't know really any of the EU countries. I just know the generalities. But again, you don't have the same rights. You don't have the same freedoms. And if they tell you you're wrong, they're going to put you in jail. Look, in England, they're putting people in jail because they don't like what they're saying on Twitter or on Facebook. Okay? Like, those are police states. I digress. If this doesn't give you so much confidence in Richard Hart, I don't know what does. So I'm going to break this up into 4 parts. The first is the first 2 lines. My whole life, I've been preparing for the future, anticipating it, creating it. I've never been safer, and I'm excited for the future. Will, how do you take those first few sentences?
Well, it sounds to me like there's a person who has some foresight. There's a person who's really good at controlling his own campfire stories that he wants, and this is not something that is unexpected or outside of the realm of possibilities. So like, this is what I would expect to hear from a captain driving like a square-rigged ship through a storm and being like, "Oh yeah, we know how to go through a storm, boys. Heave to, lower the top mast. We're gonna run on the lower mast and the mainsail, and we're gonna go through it, and it'll be just fine. Just stick to the plan. We know what's going on. Helmsman, carry on straight ahead." And it's just like, this is nothing but good vibes, good captaincy, good leadership here.
But I also think you need to read between the lines. And as we get into the next paragraph, we'll read between the lines a little bit more. I've never been safer. Is he worried about being on the Interpol list? Is he worried about these potentially unjust charges, or just? I don't know. Who knows? But likely based on everything that I've heard, especially when we're talking about Interpol, a corrupt agency, I don't trust them. I don't trust corrupt agencies. I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt over somebody who's done so much for charity, so much to help people, giving out so much free information. I'm sorry. I'm going to trust a person whose character time and time again seems to rise above the average than a corrupt government agency that always seems to be slimy and do what's best for itself rather than what's best for the people. That's just where I'm going to put my trust.
Yeah, 100%. There's 2 brands that are at war here. You have the brand of Richard Hart, and you've got the brand of Interpol. It's like, which one's more
literally the machine, right? Like, Interpol is literally the machine.
Which one's gonna bust down your door, shoot your dog, confiscate your goodies, and put you in prison? It's not Richard Hart. It's not Richard Schuler. It's definitely going to be the police. It's definitely going to be Interpol, the World Economic Forum people. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jimmy Hart. Good old Jimmy Hart. Oh, that's great. Yo, so so then he talks about the SEC in the second paragraph, and this is awesome because like, the Honorable Justice in the SEC should have her ruling out soon. Donald Trump will be in office, so like, the politics are good. Like, Justice Carroll, she was super awesome in the hearing. Like, for those of you guys that listened to the transcript that we read, for those of you guys that were there at the hearing with us, like, everything just seemed like it was going fucking awesome, as far as I'm aware. And I know nothing. Go listen to Nuclear Herbs. Shout out to Nuclear Herbs. He did some much better educated commentary on it than myself. But like, oh, excuse me, everything seemed fine in that respect. And then we've also got D Trizzle hopping in. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I was just gonna say, we also got Donald Trump, like D Trizzle, hopping into office, and so like, there's hope for America in the economic respect in that sense, and at least in the freedoms of the way that our economies work and the way that we transfer money around, and like, he's just more crypto friendly than the United States has been over the last 4 years. So
right. So what is this? What do these 2 sentences say to me?
The government's set up for success.
Don't worry about the SEC case. That is going to be taken care of soon. It's either going to be the Honorable Justice who's going to take care of it for me, or it's going to be the next regime, the next people that are going into office. So he's saying, I'm safe, super excited for the future, Don't worry about the SEC. That is going to be finished soon. This is how I interpret it, okay? Interpret this however you want to. This is how I'm interpreting it. Next, what does he always say? No downtime. Hex,
No downtime.
PulseX, PulseChain, Inc. Perfecto, okay? Perfect. You can run your own front end, right?
Yep.
In fact, I recommend running your front end. If you've never gone to the PulseX website and you haven't said run on Windows or run on whatever operating system you use, you have to. It takes 2 seconds. Literally, you click run on Windows. It pulls up, it downloads a file. You literally double click to start the application, and boom, you have the exact same front end run from your computer with no middleman. What could be better than that? That is literally DeFi in the heart of what decentralized finance has always should been. That's always been the dream of it, right? Like no middleman. And in fact, Richard Hart thinks that some people don't like that there's no middleman because they don't get a piece of the pie.
Well, yeah, and that's what he talks about next. Is this makes some entities mad, but there's literally nothing they can do about it except be mad. It feels great to be wanted, which funny choice of words. It's great to be wanted, baby. What a fucking troll! I love it. This is so good, and in the words of Taylor Swift, the leader of another fanatical cult. Shout out to all the Swifties out there, number 13s and all that. But the haters are gonna hate. And the potatoes are going to potate. And I just want to shake. So we shake off all these problems. We shake off all these worries. And we rock and roll. And we have a good time. And we celebrate Richard Hart being wanted. I don't know about you guys, but I'm fucking stoked for it. I think that this is all nothing but fantastic news.
Look, people don't care if he's wanted. All it does is bring more eyes to the ecosystem. All they care about is green candles. So when these green candles start to take off, guess who's getting in? All of the shit talkers that are too afraid to get in now. All of the people that really say that Richard Hart's a scammer, but really don't care about that. All they care about is talking shit about him. But guess who's buying when the green candles start to fucking rage? Everybody. Every single person. You know why? Because they want to make money. They want to make money. That's all they care about. They don't care about any of this other stuff. So if you think I'm excited, I'm not. I can't even, I don't even have a word to explain how happy with the future that we are going to be, in my opinion. Excitement pales in comparison to how I'm actually feeling. You know why? Because nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. Woo!
Excellent.
Does that give you the tingles?
I like it, dude. This does give the tingles. So Richard's a good marketer, and he's a good salesman, and he's a good campfire story builder. I fucking love it. Bro, I got a question. Is one of your tweets the one that that Nuclear Herbs put out? That's like the analysis of the other tweet that Richard did? Because whenever we go through the rest of yours, I would like to pull up the one that Nuclear Herbs did on my end, because he does a great analysis of all this stuff. But
so I was planning on pulling that up, but I never got to it. I don't have it here, so that's perfect. You have it.
Okay, sweet. So let's go ahead and run through this one though. So what do we got here?
This is a quick one, right? Sometimes maximum FUD equals maximum opportunity, right? This is what we were just saying. It's like this brings more eyes to the ecosystem worldwide, if you like it or not, right? Sure, yeah, we all want green candles. We don't want people to continue to FUD, but I'll tell you what happened yesterday got even more paper hands out of our ecosystem. And look how fast those numbers bounced back up. Those wicks didn't last very long. All of the believers were buying, and they were buying fast. So that means all of that money transferred from paper hands to much stronger holders. And what does that mean? Less resistance on the way up. These people were going to sell on a 3x or a 5x or a 2x. Who knows, right?
Well, they already sold.
They sold already.
Negative X.
Exactly.
So they would have been out earlier, but now they're out even lower, and the believers got to buy their hands, statistically likely. So it's just so beautiful. Sorry, please continue.
I know that I have more coins in my wallets because of what happened yesterday than I would have.
Yep.
And I'm happy about that. But nonetheless, right? Look, Bitcoin dropped from 40% from 5K to 3K in 2 weeks for a China ban. He did an 8-hour live stream, and that was it. It was the bottom. The price was 20K 3 months later, right? That's a 4x. Well, I guess from a 3K, that's That's a 6 and almost 7x. Yeah, you wish you bought Bitcoin at 3K. I bet you wish you bought Hex at a cent yesterday if you could.
Man, that would have been nice.
Yeah, I would. I got a Hex buy in, but I did not get it at a cent. So nonetheless,
That's okay.
I still got a really good buy, and I'm not going to be upset.
Close enough.
That. Exactly.
Close enough, amigo. Stacking those.
When it's 50 cents, I'm not going to care if it was a cent or a cent and a half. You know what I mean? Like, not that big of a deal. But it's true. It's like, hey, if you believe in something, it doesn't matter if outside sources are causing the prices to go down, right? That's just an opportunity. Because if you truly believe in something, then if it goes down, you're going to want more of it.
Exactly. Oh man, this is so good. Just I'm looking at the charts right now, looking at just the swings up and down, and it's like, oh, golly.
This is crazy. This is crazy. And this is what FUD. Anytime that people bring more volume to PulseChain, it creates an insane buy and burn for PulseX. PulseX is an absolute monster. And I did get the best buy of my buys yesterday was on PulseX. Shout out to PulseX. Thank you for letting me get a low wick there. But yeah, look at this. Not $300,000, not 300,000 PulseX. $300,000 of PulseX were burnt yesterday because the burn goes up with volume. And who benefits? The believers, the people that are farming, the people that are in LPs, stable LPs. They profit on volume. So if you're in there using the ecosystem, providing value or farming, you're making out. You're getting more money. And so again, the non-believers are not only giving their coins to believers, but they're also pumping our bags through buy and burn and through LPs and farm profit volume. So transactions, right? Fantastic. No middleman. Satoshi's vision wasn't all of these banks and governments owning Bitcoin, which, by the way, look, it's a necessary evil in some cases. Bitcoin isn't the most decentralized coin. I love Bitcoin. I own Bitcoin. But is it like true DeFi? I wouldn't say so. Not currently. Not with all these big institutions owning it, right? With all of like, look how many people are on Coinbase or Kraken or these other exchanges, Binance, and they don't have their money in their own wallets. You're literally giving these organizations your money, and they're saying, "Yeah, hey, we're gonna keep this safe for you."
All the ETFs are on Coinbase,
right?
All of Micro Sailors. I'm confident that it's all on Coinbase, but I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that all of MicroStrategy's Bitcoin is like on Coinbase. I could be. Oh man, I would be so fucking fun. This would be the best. Is there stuff on? I'm
just trying to find out, but I don't know. But hey, I want to show something. So let me pull this up. So if you go to gopulse.com.
Yep. Look at that.
Go to PulseX here. Yes, I just doxed one of my wallets, Ethereum wallets.
But that's okay. All right.
It's a small one. So look at this. So look at the buy and burns. These are the top 10 largest buy and burns since the start of the chain.
How many of those top 10 buy and burns were in the recent past, Mr. Brendan?
Well, 3 of them were yesterday, Will.
Fucking A,
3
man.
of them were yesterday.
What a present it has been. All those folks buying, all those folks selling, like this, that's a lot of fucking volume. If 3 of the biggest buy and burns were from one day ago.
17,000, 18,000 and change, 19,000. Like insane. Yeah. Right there, that's like almost $60,000 worth of buy and burn. Now, again, dollars. We're talking about dollars of how much the PulseX is worth. We're talking about hundreds of, like, I guess probably billions of PulseX burnt yesterday, because this is 500 million. This is 500 million. This is 500 million.
Yeah, let's see.
Billions of PulseX were burnt just yesterday. Think about when PulseChain really starts taking off. Think about what this buy and burn is going to do to the real holders, to the people that have been in here for the years, that are people that are buying the bottoms, buying the dips, like literally blood, sweat, and tears, working 2 jobs to get more DCA into the market. This is what changes the game for PulseChain and PulseX. This is what makes this chain far superior to Ethereum. This is what makes PulseX far superior to Uniswap swap. Okay.
Yep. 8.5 billion.
The buy and burn. This is insane. So go back to Richard Hart's tweet. Whoop, saw me.
Yep.
300. So the total was 300,000. PulseX was burnt yesterday. So look, FUD pumps your bags even when the candles are red.
Yep. This is great. This is great. And that PulseX is never coming back. That's gone forever. All gone. All gone. 85 billion pulse. Gone and far away. I don't remember what the total amount is of PulseX. I want to say it's some trillions or some things like that. That doesn't matter. But the fact is, like, there's 85 billion of it that we will never see ever again. So that's pretty fucking cool. Let's take a look at this tweet though.
I got 2 Sami tweets.
Yeah, let's hear it.
This one's interesting because we were talking about the assault charge earlier. And Sami says, remember when Richard Hart had a black eye? Let's pull this picture up. Look at that black eye right there. Look at that shiner.
Yeah.
A real shiner there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing this might have been the scum 16-year-old who attacked him for his clothes and probably even tried to rob him too. I'm guessing he assumed Richard was gay due to his fashion clothes and he violently attacked him. Richard never brought it up again, but the 16-year-old little UNT probably wanted a payday when he saw Richard had money. Multiple people have brought this up. Again, it's probably fake Interpol news, and it's very bullish. Soy boys at Interpol are putting out bogus fake violence claims against Richard Hart and trying to do the SEC corruption thing against PulseChain. Nobody believes it because they are bug eaters. This is what Johnny Chaos said. Remember when Richard had a black eye and said the fashion police attacked him? I guess it never occurred to anyone that he was attacked and defended himself. Woo! Fair point. Fair point. So look, we don't know the story, but again, there's 2 sides to every story, and I generally don't trust the machine.
Yep. And that is the wise thing to do.
And look, I'm not going to read through all of Sami's tweets, but go to his page because he has a lot of stuff about the Interpol and the government, right? So this is a little bit long, but we'll go through some of it. So recently, corrupt Interpol from Finland government did a bogus manhunt list for Richard Hart. This is FUD. Red alert is not as deep as it sounds, and there are 7 more colors after that. The corrupt SEC has most likely lost against Richard Hart on the case of jurisdiction. Richard Hart pretty much alluded to that in that tweet that we read earlier. Did he not, Will? Did it seem like he's not worried about the SEC case at all?
Not even a concern.
Right. So check. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Judge Auntie Carol has identified that nobody owns Ethereum, and the blockchain lives where? In the ether. Certainly doesn't live in the United States, and it certainly doesn't live in Finland. I am sorry.
Sorry, Finns. Tervetuloa to all of you Finns out there, but there is no blockchain in Finland.
Does Finland own Ethereum blockchain? I don't think so. Do they own PulseChain? Did Richard Hart even take any of those sacrifice funds out?
Are they still sitting there? Who knows?
Well, we do know that they're mostly sitting there because they're on the blockchain, not in Finland.
One of the oh man, this is fucking great. Let's continue though.
Yeah, Interpol has many corrupt leaders around the world who get paid for doing dirty work when people are innocent, as they have 1,000 employees and somehow yet 170 million annual budget. Oh, by the way, PulseChain has 250,000 members. And what was the PulseChain sacrifice? Like $1 billion or something?
It was a lot.
A lot more than what their annual budget is.
Yep.
Every big account is talking about Richard Hart and PulseChain. Is that good? Is all news good news? Well,
100%.
I don't know about all news is good news, but anytime
anything that keeps you alive keeps you alive. Anytime anybody mentions Socrates, he lives for that much more mind share. If nobody mentions monkeys riding on the back of an elephant eating ice cream, then nobody ever thinks about monkeys riding on the back of an elephant eating ice cream. But now there's however many people are listening to this, watching it on the replay, or listening to it live, or doing whatever. now that idea has popped into your head of monkeys riding on elephants eating ice cream. So like, if nobody talks about it, then it doesn't exist. It's dead. I saw this one meme one time where it's like, this is a picture of Bill. Bill only exists inside your imagination for as long as you read this comic. Bill says, I'm scared. Please don't stop reading. And that's like the end of the comic. It's just like, oh no, Bill's gonna die as soon as I stop reading. But anyways, so like all news, all attention is good.
Yes, news is wrong. Attention. Yes.
Yeah.
But again, look, Interpol, the SEC, the United States government, the political machine. How many times do they just make things up about people, assuming that you're gonna take it as gospel, right? Even Andrew Tate recently and his brother Tristan, they're essentially getting released of all their charges because there was no evidence that they did anything wrong, and yet they were held in prison for years. Now, CZ, right? Same thing. They put him in prison for a few months because he was doing bad things. They didn't have any evidence on him. They just didn't like that he was going around the machine. They're going around the people that own the economic system. Julian Assange, a lot of the fake stuff that surrounded Donald Trump before the election, right? FUD happens constantly. You have to actually dig down and find out if it's true or not. And if you can't find the truth, then you have to decide for yourself what you believe. Okay. And it's okay to say, I don't know. That is perfectly an acceptable answer. But I have a pretty strong personal opinion about Richard Hart versus Interpol, Richard Hart versus the SEC, Richard Hart versus the political machine, the economic machine, the EU. I trust almost nothing that comes out from the EU pertaining to its government or its institutions. I don't. So there you go. There's that. And look, he has a lot more stuff on here. There's actually a funny one. Look, former Interpol chief Meng Hongwei jailed for bribery. Like, there is article after article showing the corruption that is rampantly running through Interpol and through the European Union and other government agencies.
The long and short of it is if you don't pay us, then we're coming after you. And if you do pay us, you'll probably be okay until we decide you're no longer good anymore. At which point we say like, hey, you don't get to do stuff anymore. Oh, is it? Okay, that's all you got. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and screen share the thing that I would like to show, and this is shout out to Nuclear Herbs with his little Twittery tweet. And it's basically just like some analysis on basically all of the stuff that we were just talking about. So let me bring this up to a reasonable size right there. Yep, and I am like, ooh, look at that. That's pretty good. All right, so for anyone who's tagged me with the Euro nonsense, thanks. And shout out to Nuclear Herbs. Make sure you guys go and check him out on X. It is x.com/Nuclear Herbs or Herbs for those of you guys that pronounce it that way. But here's what he says. For anyone who's tagged me with the Euro nonsense, thanks, but I don't have any idea what's going on or why. But if not paying taxes and punching a teenager gets you on Europe's most wanted list, then I guess they're doing pretty good. I mean, apparently they've solved all of their other more serious crimes like murder, robbery, rape, stealing cable, graffiti, farting in elevators, and gluing your stupid ass to the pavement to protest oil or something. I'll wait to see what the actual story is. I mean, if everyone's believed the media's ridiculous one-sided coverage of every single thing Trump was charged with, you'd think he'd be president in a few weeks? I don't know if he's got tax advice that turned out to be incorrect. You don't know if the teenager grabbed Richard's man purse or tried to run off with it and Richard fighted him off. You don't know shit at this point. So take a deep breath, wait for the facts. Don't believe in everything you see on the internet, even if it's put out by a government agency, especially if it's put out by a government agency. I mean, you didn't believe the SEC's bullshit press release when they sued Richard, didn't you? So why are you assuming that this is true? Shout out to Nuclear Herbs and this fantastic, and this is him quoting and reposting Richard Hart's original tweet that we covered at the beginning of all this. And so yeah, shout out to Nuclear Herbs. He's absolutely right. And then also here's this little nugget. This is Bill. Bill exists inside your head. So as soon as you stop thinking about Bill, he's dead. And just like that, bazinga, Bill is gone. Bill has been killed. Mrs. Producer, can you go ahead and pull down the screen share? That is all that I have on that. But yeah, shout out to Nuclear Herb, shout out to Richard, shout out to the SEC, shout out to Finland, shout out to Interpol, shout out to all these cocksuckers out there that are doing our dirty work for us, bringing these spicy news nuggets straight to your doorstep for you guys to consume and for other people at home to listen to and think about and bring more mind share into our community, into our coins, into our bags, and do all of this. They're basically doing all the legwork for us. All that we have to do is put the nice positive campfire story on it, and the true believers will believe, and they'll buy up the low prices, and the haters are gonna hate, and the potatoes are gonna potate, and that's all I gotta say about that. It's I think it's nothing but excellence that's going on here. So, any final thoughts from you, Mr. Brendan, on this or anything that we've covered thus far?
Yeah, man, look, I just want to say that the way the markets are building up for 2025, I am so freaking bullish. Like, man, I couldn't be more bullish. I could not be more bullish for 2025. That's the crypto markets in general, but that is especially the Richard Hart ecosystem. Maybe 2025, 2026, who knows when it's going to happen. But man, I'm so bullish on 2025, and I think it's going to make a lot of life-changing monetary, financial opportunities for people, especially in our community, especially in the Richard Hart ecosystem. Like, I couldn't be more bullish. I really couldn't be. I don't know how I could be more bullish. And if I'm like squeezing every penny that I can to DCA in on these crazy wicks, when I'm like, oh, I wasn't planning on bridging more money in, but here I go. Look, I get that people are down a long time, but if you've been in the ecosystem for 3 years and you have been actually using Hex and PulseChain to double and triple your coins through staking, through farms, through LPs, then even if you were down 98% on your original investment, you were way up. You're down way less than that because of how many coins you've been able to increase in your wallet. Now, my first Hex purchases were pretty high. I think my first purchase was like 18 cents or something like that. But I bought so much Hex under a cent and under 2 cents that that's like my 20-cent purchase is like a drop in the bucket.
Doesn't even matter anymore, right?
It doesn't matter at all because I've lowered my dollar cost average so much by buying these lows. It's like it didn't matter that I bought those middle price ranges. It didn't matter if you bought 50 cents if you bought 3 times that much at under 1 cent, right? Like so if you bought at 50 cents, close to the high of Hex, and then you bought the low of Hex and you bought the exact same amount, how much does it take to get your money back? A 2x.
Yep.
That's it, a 2x.
It's and we've got a comment here. Mrs. Producer, could you pull up Kirby Lucario's comment from 23 after? So people who held Hex for over 3 years are still down 98%. It's been a nightmare. Let's be real. Mr. Kirby Lucario, you are correct in the literal sense that if people only bought Hex 3 years ago, they would still be down 98% today. If they started buying Hex 3 years ago and they bought harder and harder and harder as the prices went down, they would not necessarily be down by 98%. I know that I started buying Hex 3 years ago around I don't remember exactly. I know I started buying Hex around day 1000. That's when I found out about Hex and the Richard Hart ecosystem. So whatever the math has been since day 1000, I think we're on like day 1800 in the Hex ecosystem or something right now. But like it was November of 2022, I think, or 2021 or something like that when I first started buying. And like I've been buying harder. I also bought when Hex was at 12 cents, right before PulseChain launched. I was over there like fucking throwing in like, half of my paycheck every single week, being like, oh yeah, I'm getting like, just like an insignificant amount of Hex that I would be able to buy right now. And it's just like, it was absolutely ridiculous. And people are only down 98% if all that they did was that one purchase 3 years ago. Now, there's a lesson in here that you need to not just buy things at one particular time. If you see the cost, like if you don't have some sort of positive cash inflow, if you don't have a job, or if you don't have a dividend paying investment, or if you don't have some sort of like money printer that gives you some sort of stipend on a weekly basis or whatever, then you're going to be stuck with your big purchases and your here and there's and your this, that, and the other thing. This is why so many content creators and KOLs and whatever the fuck you want to call the shepherds of the flocks on the internet going out and saying like, hey, you guys need to like always have a job. Don't quit your day job. Keep doing things that bring in money, because like you shouldn't be spending your crypto money. You shouldn't be spending your investment money, your 10% of that. Like, I don't know if you guys recall when we covered the richest man in Babylon, but 10% of all your earnings so a good advice is taking 10% of all your earnings and using that to buy your wealth building system and never touching that until it's time to like, build some better wealth. So like if you're using your crypto money to live off of, and you're not using like your jobby job money to live off of, or your little Etsy store, or your OnlyFans income, or your YouTube stream generation, whatever the hell, or your McDonald's flipping, whatever it might be, you should have some sort of system that earns you money in the traditional finance world in addition to your cryptocurrency stuff. So that way you don't have to like just buy one time and then be down 98% for 3 years. You can constantly be DCAing as the price goes lower, which it probably will do at some point. Like, let's be honest.
Well, not only that, but
yeah,
the whole point of Hex is to increase your coins.
Yeah.
Right? The whole point of PulseChain is to find ways to increase your coins. Now, look, I understand that farms can be risky due to impermanent loss, but if you want to become an expert and understand when you can put in, when you should pull out, then you have to do that due diligence. You have to do that work. I know that someone in our chat yesterday said they've farmed over 1,000 ink. So even if they're down 98%, they farmed 1,000 ink from their PulseChain. PulseX, I don't know what farms are in, right? That's a significant amount of money. Just at $2, that's $2,000 of ink. At $10, that's 20 grand.
Yep.
Right? Like, well, sorry, 10 grand, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a significant amount of money. Like, so find ways to not only DCA more, but the whole point of the Richard ecosystem is find ways to build your bags. We talk about this constantly. How do you increase your coins without putting new money into the market? And yes, I don't recommend a lot of these more experienced plays from people that are new to the market. But how do you become not new? You work hard to understand what you're doing. You get into our Telegram and you listen to all of the things that people are talking about, all of the different plays that they're doing to ways to increase their coins without necessarily always putting in new capital. Yes, we always talk about finding ways to earn new capital, especially in the bear market, especially when things are cheap, right? So 3 years ago, we were, in a bull market or on the way down from the bull market, right? And we went down from there. So if you were buying...
Oh, no, you muted yourself. Hold on.
If you're buying at the lows, it didn't matter so much if you bought the top, right? Like, because you bought so much at the low. Now, I get it. Like, some people have finite amount of money, and some people overextended themselves 3 years ago and didn't have the money to put in because they had other bills that they had to pay, and they expected to get rich in a year. That isn't how crypto works. This isn't a short-term get-rich-quick scheme. Now, I will tell you, if you're in now and you're going to be in next year, then every once in a while people get lucky, right? So if you just got into the Richard ecosystem and you're holding through 2025, then maybe you get really lucky. But for those of us who've been here for 3+ years, it was hard for a while. And Kirby, you're not wrong about that. It's been a really, really tough bear market. But through really difficult times are some of the areas where you can find the most opportunity. But it also takes someone with balls of steel. It also takes someone that's surrounded by people that are like-minded and that give them strength, that build them up, that give them confidence. Now, not confidence just for confidence, but like-minded individuals working towards a common goal of bettering themselves. And confidence can come from me saying, Will, I don't think what you did there was right. That can come from hard love. That can come from lessons learned. That doesn't just come from someone agreeing with you. If someone just agrees with you, they're probably not the best person that you want to trust with your best being. Will, have I ever given you really tough feedback?
Oh, fucking A, right. I'm sure you have. I don't remember any of it, but I'm sure that it's happened. And this is something that we love in the Degen Roundtable, is that each and every single one of us on the leadership team, we all came together under the premise of like, oh shit, we're doing a whole bunch of good things. We're also doing a whole bunch of bad things. Like, I hope to God that I'm able to stick around with these guys that tell us all the bad things that we're doing, so that we can be like, hey, wait a second, my friends are telling me I'm fucking up. I need to switch my behavior set, or I need to like at least reevaluate what I'm doing and move forward from there. So like, we're gonna make a whole bunch of mistakes. We're gonna do a whole bunch of bad stuff. We're gonna do a whole bunch of silly things. And the important thing is to surround yourself with like-minded individuals that are concerned with your goals and helping you achieve them. It's like the whole concept of like friendship versus war. It's like friendship is a person helping another person achieve, or like person one helping person two achieve person two's goals at whatever the cost that might be. And war is person one trying to get person two to accomplish person one's goals at like, whatever the cost might be. So it's just like, are they on my team? Are they on their team? And you have to surround yourself with like-minded folks and do that sort of thing. And the way that you do that is you hop on into our Telegram. I'm not used to it being up in this corner right here, but if you guys want to scan this QR code up there, then you can hop on into the Degen Roundtable Telegram. Also, you can go to up in your URL on any web browser that you have, go to t.me/DRT join now. Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind pulling up that chat I put in earlier for the guys, join the Degen Roundtable Telegram at http:/DRT join now. So, yep, there it is right there. So you guys can click on that little link that's in the live chats right now. For those of you guys that are just listening, it is again t.me/DRT Delta Romeo Tango join now. And that's how you get on in there. So this is awesome.
Yeah, like, subscribe. But I just want to say one more thing about that previous conversation. But it's like,
yes,
in the bear market, we built this group as a think tank, as like-minded individuals that were bouncing ideas and thoughts off each other. And we were, each taking those ideas, trying to poke holes in them. And essentially, iron sharpens iron. And this is how the Degen Roundtable started. But it wasn't just like, hey, bouncing ideas off each other, but it's also like holding people, holding people accountable. Remember how much we were holding people accountable for putting in the work in the bear market? And this is the thing.
Yeah.
We kept each other sharp. We really kept each other engaged and focused when it was really hard to, because the bear market, again, Kirby, not wrong, it was really tough. It was a really hard bear market. And it's still not easy because a lot of these altcoins are still down compared to where they were in the last bull market. So yes, patience takes time. But if you believe and it's going to pay off, I mean, I hope you didn't cheat your bags yesterday, because you've already failed, right? Like,
well, if the bags are gone, then the bags are gone, and that is going to be a lesson that will be expensive. And the great thing is if you ever make a mistake, and it's inevitable that you will, you're essentially just paying the price, like a high price for schooling, right? Just like when people go to college and they spend $40,000 a year, they're paying a high price for some bullshit education. In the cryptocurrency sphere, when you make a $10,000 mistake by clicking on some spam ass fucking link that drains your MetaMask wallet or drains your Rabby wallet or whatever, you're essentially paying for an education, and like, you can look at it as like, oh, my life is over, I've lost my life savings. Or you can look at it as like, oh, I did a dumb thing and I learned something that's very, very, very valuable, right? And you can spread that lesson on to other people. So like, it's all, everything that happens is all about framing. When we're roasting each other in the Degen Roundtable chat, we're doing it, 1, because it's funny, 2, because it's educational, and 3, because we actually care about people and we want people to do the correct thing as often as possible. And so if you see us in there talking shit to each other and saying like, hey, you dingus, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, it's 1, it's funny. 2, it's educational, and 3, it's like, hey, we love you, so we're going to talk about the bad thing that we think you're doing, rather than just ignoring you and letting you keep on like digging your hole even deeper. So like, if you're in the Degen Roundtable, I highly recommend that you guys like lurk around in there, read through the chats, go through the pinned messages, which I don't even know if the pinned messages are relevant to what's going on right now anymore, but like, just read through the chats, try and drink the water through the fire hose. As like, shout out to Miguel and Charlie. That's what they always say. It's like going into the crypto space is like trying to drink water through a fire hose, because you're flooded with so much information and it hits you so fucking fast and you don't know what to do with it. You're inevitably going to make some mistakes. You're going to like drown and sputter and flinch and like fly all over the place. And it's going to be crazy. But like at the end of the day, you're going to stumble around and eventually find yourself and figure shit out. And you're gonna find yourself. It's like what Brendan was saying just a little bit ago. The iron sharpens the iron, and you guys will be forged in there into some like beautiful like railroad ties, or some swords, or some axes, or I don't know, maybe some some nutcrackers, or some tin snips, or something like that. I don't know, but you guys are gonna be like forged into some great, fantastic tools, and you're gonna make the world a better place as a result of hopping on into the into the Degen Roundtable community. I want to take this time, Mr. Brennan, and actually answer a question that we've had over in the Telegram by our good friend, Mr. Battle Hardened Sniper. Do you have anything you want to add before we hop on into that? Okay, sweet. So for the folks that can't see, here's my screen share. But we've got Mr. Battle Hardened Sniper sending a question to myself and Brendan saying, so is any of this Richard Hart FUD to do with the time he was robbed in Panama? I'm not sure, Mr. Battle Hardened Sniper. That could very well be the case. I'm not 110% sure, but I think that it may be what happened. It may not be. And then I see I got tagged here again by someone. I don't know. Oh, we're talking about food. Never mind. So, anyways, he was asking about was it the stuff that happened in Panama. I don't know if it was specifically the stuff that happened in Panama. I actually have no idea about what happened in Panama, but that could very well be the case. It seems to be that the consensus is that people think that it was from an incident where he was jumped by some teenager or something along those lines. Again, I don't know, and I'll refer back to what Mr. Nuclear Herb said earlier on in the stream, is that we don't have any idea of like what was actually going on. Mrs. Bruce, let's go ahead and take down screen share. We don't have any idea what was actually going on, or anything that like we don't know the details of what this thing is. Again, this is Interpool playing some fun little fucky games, and they're cranking out some campfire stories that make people feel bad. So it could very well be the case. I'm not sure if he was jumped in Panama. I don't know a whole lot about what happened to Richard in that time frame. I don't know. Beans, you got any idea?
I don't, but it sounds very similar to what everyone's talking about, right? I don't know if that happened in Europe or if that happened in Panama, but if he was, it sounds like he was at some point someone tried to rob him, and there could have been a scuffle that took place after that. I know if someone tried to rob me, especially if he's some punk, younger, smaller than me, like I don't know, I might get into a little scuffle, so. Yeah, Richard Hart had a black eye. So it looks like he got into a scuffle at some point. Do we know that he was trying to be robbed? It sounds like that was a pretty common consensus. Even if he didn't say it, sounds like he may have hinted at it. So yeah, I think that's a very fair point and a very good thing that could be considered. But yeah, it's certainly plausible. But again, I don't know if it was Panama. I don't know if it was Europe. But I certainly know that Richard Hart, have a pretty good feeling that Richard Hart isn't just walking around punching people for no reason.
Yeah, that doesn't strike me as something that Ricardo Corazon would do. Just go around committing violence and things, especially not with all of his talks that he does on like basically making the world a better place and all that stuff. Very off-brand. Let's go ahead and do a round of chat shoutouts, Mr. Brendan, I'm thinking. And then what do you say we start winding down the show? Sound good?
I think it's a great idea. Let's do it.
All righty. Cool beans. Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and go through some chat shoutouts. It looks like first up, we've got another other than Mr. Conspiracy Crypto, my good friend Ramon, an IRL friend of mine. Shout out to you, Ramon. For those of you guys that don't know, Ramon does an excellent channel. He does an excellent YouTube channel of where he goes through like different conspiracy theories that happen in the world, and excuse me, And he talks about a whole bunch of like really cool things going on up at the government level, up at the society level. He's interviewed myself. He's interviewed Flat Earth Dave. He's interviewed a whole bunch of people. He's been on the Ascending Man show. He's done a whole bunch of excellent things. Shout out to you, Ramon. You make some excellent content. For those of you guys that know Ramon, he's a super cool person in real life as well. And I'm super glad to see you joining the live stream with us today, my amigo. So glad to see you here. Next up, we have got, I got to pull up the star chats here. We've got Games by Casey. I didn't think that I could like Richard Hart anymore, but here we are. Yes, absolutely. He's wanted by Interpol. This reminds me of like when Donald Trump got those like 34 felonies or whatever the hell, and it's like, oh, what a fucking fun and awesome
He's
time.
a felon. Oh, guess what? He's not, because those charges are gone.
Hey, there we go. But it made for a great campfire story, and it didn't like anybody that liked him before. It was just like, oh, this is either awesome or this is some bullshit campfire story that like mainstream media hashtag fake news is spitting out. So like it did nothing but help him to have all this stuff similar to Richard Hart right now. Does nothing but help him.
You know what? It's like the story of the little boy that cried wolf.
Hey,
you know, after so many times of crying wolf, it's like, right, sure, okay, right, got it.
Yep.
He's bad man, orange man bad, got it. And it's like you're going to stop believing them. You're going to stop believing when people continue to lie to you. The mainstream media, the government, a lot of people, even look, you can find lies everywhere. But like there's certain entities that are lying to us more than others. And I'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And who's going to lie to you? Your government? They would, Brendan, our government would never lie to us. He said confidently.
Oh, I believe everything they say.
Yep, I believe everything they say. And hey, Mr. IRS,
politicians are politicians for a reason, because they're the most trustworthy individuals that we could ever elect.
Yep. And they're loved and appreciated by the people, and they do nothing but like speak honestly about their thoughts and opinions, and they never deviate from the things that they say they're going to do. So like nothing but respect for any sort of political figure or any sort of government agency out there. Shout out to you all. Shout out to the IRS. Shout out to Interpol. Shout out to the Coconut Intelligence Agency and all you guys out there that are just doing such a great job in keeping the world safe and giving us a nice, valuable product for the taxpayer dollars that are wrenched out of our grubby little citizen paws. I'm glad that you guys take our money, because we sure as hell don't know what to do with it. So there we go. Continuing on with chat shout-outs, though. We've got some more to go here after Mr. Games by Casey. Next up, we've got Tam Tam saying, "What's up, fam? What is up to you, Tam Tam? Good to see you, amiga. Welcome to the stream. Number one cheerleader in the PulseChain, Hex, and cryptocurrency in general space. Good to see you, Tam. Welcome to the stream." After that, we've got Russ saying, "Hi, guys. Hi, Mr. Russ. We are glad to have you here as well. Good to have you with us on this fantastic and beautiful Sunday." I don't know about where the weather is at for you down there in Florida, Mr. Brendan, but up here in New Hampshire, it's like a nice, cool, and crisp 20 degrees outside right now. Ooh. The sun was out. It was beautiful. And the snow started melting, but I still need my chains to get up and down my driveway every day. So
right now it's 70 degrees.
Oh man, I'm a little bit
9:44.
It's gonna be wonderful when I leave here to go travel the States again. It's gonna be awesome. Next up in the chat shoutouts, it looks like we've got Mr. Jonathan. I'm farming 16 ink a day. We are, man, dude, that's a lot of fucking
bro.
Ink. Good for you, bro. Good for
Love
you.
it.
Shout out to you, Mr. Jonathan. In fact, Mr. Jonathan, I have a special, and I didn't actually plan on doing this, but something that I learned over the last few days, because it was Jonathan's birthday recently, and let me see. Oh, we're in tune. Look at that. So I actually learned the happy birthday chords because I failed to play happy birthday for Jonathan the other day. So real quick. Happy birthday to... Oh, shit. What's G7? Fuck. To you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jonathan. Happy birthday to you. All right, there you go. I did it. And now you can say it's done. So anyone else, if you ever got a birthday, let me know. And fuck, I don't know how many people I can sing happy birthday to every single stream, but there you go. It's been done. I meant to do that earlier. and I've finally got it sorted. So Jonathan, happy belated birthday to you, amigo. I think I'm like a week late or something like that, but there we are. And then finally, to finish up our chat shoutouts, we've got Mr. K. Hudson. I'm here for the fire. Thank you, sir. I do not have a fire going in my fireplace right now, but I should. We're all here for the campfire stories. I think that's what he's talking about. So, Mr. K. Hudson, glad that you're here for the campfire stories. And by the way, are y'all ascending? Because I've become 1% better than he was or that he were yesterday. So we are glad to hear you. Oh man, Russ. Oh
I think
shit.
he's saying. I think he's saying become 1% better than you were yesterday. So improve
Yes.
every day.
Oh, become, not I become. Yes, become 1% better than you were yesterday. Yes, absolutely. And then Russ commenting on 07. What's a G7? Yeah, I forgot what a G7 was, but I remembered at the right moment. For those of you guys that play ukulele, the difference between a G and a G7 is if you've got your third fret, third finger, or if you've got your third finger on the third fret, or if it's up on the first fret. So that's the difference between the G7. Your other two fingers are exactly the same. So now you know.
You're good finding the G spots on the guitar.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, sometimes you just got to find those G spots on the guitar, bro. Sometimes. Hey, and that's we've got some. We'll have some more details for the folks at home in the Telegram. If you guys want to hop on into the Telegram, we will show you exactly how to find the G spots in all the right things in all the right places. And speaking of G spots, shout out to Crypto Black Sheep and the Degen protocol community over there. We fucking love you guys. And shout out to Mr. Big for reminding me that Crypto Black Sheep is an awesome gentleman and super cool individual. So I want to send all of you guys, if you guys don't know about the Degen protocol, you can find out about all of the things that they do over on Degen protocol. I think it's .io. Oh man, and here I am quoting the thing and I don't even remember their website. Yep, degenprotocol.io. There's some super cool cats and kittens over there. I know that my good friend Chris streams every single day. He's been streaming for 1,500 and something days now. So shout out to Chris, shout out to Black Sheep. You guys are fucking awesome over there, and we appreciate everything that our Degens do over there on the other side of the Degen family. So super cool, awesome guys, and yeah, lots of great stuff going on here and everywhere. And speaking of lots of great stuff going on, Mr. Brendan, dude, what have you got going on in the near future? Oh, and by the way, yeah, for those of you guys that want to join the Telegram, then you just scan this QR code way up there. That's freaking awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Producer, for dropping that. I'll go ahead and drop the link again in the chats. But while I'm doing that, Mr. Brendan, where can the folks find you and what have you got going on in the near future, amigo?
Sure. You can find me on X, anonymous_bean. And you can find me in the Telegram. I am there literally every day talking, even when I am away. I am in the Telegram. I don't post on X as much as I should, but I'm trying to be a little bit more active on there. Certainly, I read a lot, so I'm well read on X, but need to start posting a bit more. Other than that, just trying to wrap up the final details for the wedding. And I just want to remind everyone that next year is big, really big. So don't allow people to cheat you out of your bags if you still believe now. Like, I'm not going to say hold your bags forever, but don't allow people to cheat you out of your bags just because they're recycling old narratives that have been around for a year. Okay. If you have an opportunity to buy more of something that you believe in, might not be a bad time. Even right now, PulseChain, PulseX, and Hex are pretty cheap compared to where they were a week ago. So
baby.
Even if you missed the wicks yesterday, it doesn't mean that there still aren't some great buys out there. There's some great buys, some of the meme coins within the PulseChain community. And look, let's just keep an eye out over the next couple of weeks to see where Bitcoin and Ethereum end up. Again, we could retest the 80s. We could go down to the mid to low 80s of Bitcoin. But personally, my personal thesis, the largest percentage of what I think could happen is I think we've hit our low point. Now, again, we could retest those low points over the next week or two. But January, leading into inauguration, leading into February, I think big things are going to happen. And I think that's when we get our next leg up into Bitcoin, Ethereum. And again, potentially Richard Hart case gets maybe thrown out here soon. We have a new pro-crypto government in the United States coming into place. So a lot of things are looking positive. So don't get too afraid. We are still in a bull market. We are still moving up. Just because there's a 20 or 30% pullback or a 50% pullback, oh no, in the Richard Hart ecosystem, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. If you believe and you have, conviction, then let's keep going. Let's get excited because next year is going to be life-changing for a lot of people.
Yep.
Thank you all for checking in. Thank you all for coming. Like, subscribe. Will, I had a blast shooting the shit with you tonight, brother.
Dude,
talking about
great.
some fun topics and just having some fun.
I kind of like these little just two people on a show things. It's much more intimate and allows us each to like get our full monologues out and not have to fight for airtime and stuff. This is great, dude. I've had such a blast, Brendan. Thank you for joining me tonight. For the folks at home who don't know who I am, again, my name is Will Stevenson. I'm a traveling iron worker who rolls around the United States, and in my off time, I talk to assholes about cryptocurrency, assholes such as yourselves, and also my wonderful guest, or not guest, but fellow panelist over here, Mr. Brennan, the Anonymous Bane. You guys can find all of my socials branched off of will.pls.fyi. That's my little PulseChain domain thing. So if you guys want to stalk me on Facebook, if you want to stalk me on Twitter, if you want to stalk me on Instagram, if you want to stalk me on Telegram, if you want to find all my stuff, I'm super duper doxxed and nothing fucking to hide from me. I figured, fuck it, I'll throw it all out there, and we'll see where it goes from there. But yeah, that's all I got as far as stuff going on in the near future. You guys should check out the stuff that the other Degens are doing. I can't remember the name of their show, but I know that it happens on Mondays. So go find Zenith and Tracker and whoever the heck they're doing some professional stuff. Go see what they're up to. As far as things going on next week, Christmas is on Wednesday. I have not decided if I'm going to be streaming on Christmas or not. I don't think that I'm going to be doing anything crazy. So I might hop on YouTube and I might read you some campfire stories. We'll see what goes on. But, we're just kind of keeping the option open up in the air. I have no plans as of yet. So expect campfire stories on Christmas and we'll have an excellent, awesome time. And if it doesn't actually happen, then, hey, no promises, no expectations. But I'm thinking about streaming on Wednesday. So it's just a thought that's in the air. Other than that, I still believe we have Telegram Tuesdays over in the Telegram. Dace is the one that leads those up. So be on the eye out for that. Those happen generally around 1 p.m. Central Time. But as far as the Degen Roundtable streams and stuff here on YouTube, you guys can catch us here on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays, streaming starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, midnight UTC, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever your time zone is. I don't know all of them off the top of my head. I think that it's like 3 a.m. over in South Africa time, whatever that one might be. But that is our stream time. You guys can always find us here over on youtube.com/@Degen Roundtable. And those are our times. Again, it is Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And that's that. And then, barring holiday or like we're all dead scenarios or something like that. And that's all I have for that. It is time to go ahead and wrap up the show. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a little bit of the ChatGPT written preamble to the Degen Roundtable Constitution. So if you guys haven't heard this before, this is an excellent treat. Brendan, do you have anything to say before we end this show? I don't think we have any chat shoutouts left. You got anything?
Nope. You're just
all right.
You're skipping a little bit, but hopefully you're good for the close.
Oh, I'm skipping? Oh, what am I skipping? Tell me what I'm skipping.
You're better now. No, you were just freezing. You're good now.
Oh, okay. I'm skipping freezing. Okay, gotcha. All right. So listen up, ladies and gentlemen. Here goes the Degen preamble. We, the debauched, in the pursuit of chaotic harmony, unite to form a more questionable union, establish but strictly unregulated fund to ensure a steady flow of libations and provide for our collective shenanigans, all while promoting the art of bad decision-making and securing the blessings of free-spirited vibes to ourselves and future party animals, do hereby establish this glorious podcast to indulge and have excess for all who dare to live recklessly. Will you join us and turn down for what? I want to thank you all for spending your valuable time with us here on the Degen Roundtable. As H&J often says, we know that time is your most valuable asset, and we appreciate you investing it right here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Will Stevenson, but more importantly, you have been watching the Degen Roundtable. Mrs. Producer, go ahead and get that trigger finger ready, because it's time to remind all the folks at home to remember to Degen responsibly.
And Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas, everybody!